A billionaire strides into Judge Caprio's courtroom as if the floor itself were leased in his name. The doors swing open like a movie entrance, perfect timing, perfect confidence. Every eye turns. The man's suit looks poured onto him, dark navy wool that whispers money with every crease. His watch flashes gold when he adjusts his cuff, a subtle reminder that each second of his life has a higher hourly rate than most people's entire day. Behind him, two assistants hover near the doorway, phones in hand, whispering schedules and names of investors waiting outside. He doesn't look nervous. He looks inconvenienced. It's a traffic case. A red light camera citation. The sort of thing most people handle quietly with respect. But from his first smirk, everyone in the room senses this won't be routine. He glances around, scanning the benches like he's evaluating real estate. When his eyes land on Judge Caprio, he offers a polite but hollow smile, the kind that says, "Let's make this quick, I've got money to earn." The bailiff reads the charge. The billionaire doesn't even flinch. Instead, he pulls a pen from his pocket and a checkbook from his jacket, old school style. "How much is this going to cost me?" he says, voice steady, confident, transactional. A murmur spreads through the gallery. The arrogance is almost physical, hanging in the air like expensive cologne. Judge Caprio looks up from the file, expression unreadable. For the first time, the room goes silent. No one yet knows that what's about to unfold will become the most talked about moment in courtroom history. A reminder that wealth can buy many things, but not dignity, not respect, and certainly not justice. Subscribe to Real Judge Stories and comment below. Can money ever buy respect? The courtroom feels smaller when he stands there. Light filters through tall windows, catching the shine of his watch each time he shifts. The nameplate on the desk reads Judge Frank Caprio, polished from years of quiet respect, a symbol of service, not status. Across the aisle, the billionaire, Damian Langford, real estate magnate and self-proclaimed empire builder, rests one manicured hand on the podium. His confidence is almost theatrical. The cut of his charcoal gray suit screams Savile Row. His tie, a deep crimson silk, feels like a deliberate statement, power dressed in patience. A faint murmur ripples through the gallery. Some recognize the name from news headlines. Langford Properties buys downtown tower for $240 million. Others just whisper about his arrogance. Judge Caprio reviews the citation on his screen, calm and deliberate. "Mr. Langford, you've been cited for a red light violation at Broad and Westminster. Do you recall the incident?" Damian leans forward slightly, offering a polished smile. "I recall many lights, Your Honor. None of them stop me." The room exhales in disbelief. The arrogance has officially entered the record. The air feels charged, like the seconds before thunder. Everyone can sense it. Something unforgettable is about to happen. Judge Caprio adjusts his glasses, the faintest trace of patience in his eyes. "Mr. Langford, the camera shows your vehicle entering the intersection 1.4 seconds after the light turned red. The fine is $85. Damian chuckles softly as if the number were a punchline. He slides his checkbook onto the podium, flips it open with the ease of habit. "85? Let's make it 500, Judge. Keep the change. I'm sure the city could use it." A low murmur sweeps across the courtroom benches. The arrogance is startling, almost electric. Caprio doesn't move. "Sir, this isn't a donation drive. It's a court proceeding." Damian tilts his head. "Of course, but time is money, isn't it? I'm here, you're here, let's save us both the trouble of bureaucracy. I'll write the check now." "The court follows due process," Caprio replies evenly. "Your wealth doesn't expedite justice." Damian laughs under his breath, tapping his pen on the checkbook. "Judge, everything in life is expedited by wealth. Efficiency is what separates men like me from the rest." A hush settles again. The rhythm of the exchange feels like a match being struck, small sparks before the blaze. Judge Caprio sets his pen down, eyes steady. "Mr. Langford, are you suggesting that justice can be bought?" "I'm saying," Damian replies, smiling thinly, "that everything has its price. Even time." The courtroom feels colder suddenly, every whisper dying in the air. Somewhere in the back row, someone mutters, "He shouldn't have said that." They're right. The fuse has been lit. Damian Langford straightens his shoulders, his smile sharpening into something calculated. "Judge, I understand you have procedures. I run a dozen corporations. I know about systems and inefficiencies. But this," he gestures toward the bench, the walls, the clerks, "this could be faster." Judge Caprio keeps his gaze steady. "Justice is not measured in speed, Mr. Langford. Justice is measured in cost," Damian counters. In my world, delays are losses. I lose $12,000 an hour sitting here discussing a light bulb that changed color. A few people in the audience laugh nervously, uncertain if it's safe to react. Caprio folds his hands. Your hourly rate doesn't apply in this courtroom. Damien leans closer to the microphone. Everything applies when money funds everything. Taxes, salaries, even the lights above us. I pay more into this city than most of these people combined. The words hang in the air like smoke. Judge Caprio tilts his head slightly. You believe your taxes entitle you to bypass due process? I believe, Damien says evenly, that contribution earns consideration. It's not arrogance, it's math. I bild, I impleur, I chinrota. Without people like me there is no system to defend. A ripple of unease moves through the courtroom. The moral fault line is showing. Caprio's tone hardens a fraction. Mr. Langford, wealth does not determine worth. The law applies equally to all. Damien chuckles. Equally? With respect, Your Honor, equality is a noble illusion. Some of us build the world, others maintain it. We both play our parts. The silence that follows is heavier than words. Judge Caprio exhales slowly. And where do you think I fit into that division? Damien meets his gaze without blinking. You enforce rules. I create value. The words land like a slap, quiet, deliberate, irreversible. The gallery stirs. Everyone knows what's coming next. The arrogance has stopped being casual. It's now philosophy. Judge Caprio lets the silence stretch. The tick of the clock seems louder than breathing. Mr. Langford, he says at last, when you say you create value, do you mean that grants you authority over the rest of us? Damien's smile doesn't waver. Authority? No. Influence, perhaps. The economy bends toward productivity, and I happen to produce a great deal. So, by your measure, Caprio replies, those who build wealth build the rules? Damien shrugs, casual but razor-edged. Someone has to fund the infrastructure. Roads, courts, salaries, they don't appear out of nowhere. My taxes, my projects, my people keep this city moving. In a sense, we all serve each other. You interpret the law, I finance its existence. The courtroom murmurs. The audacity feels almost surreal. Caprio's eyes narrow. Are you suggesting public servants serve you? Damien leans forward, lowering his voice. Judge, let's be honest. Without revenue, there's no justice system. Without taxpayers like me, none of this functions. So yes, in a practical sense, you work for people like me. A gasp ripples through the gallery. The air changes, thicker, heavier, charged. Caprio speaks softly now, every syllable precise. You believe I work for you. Damien hesitates only a second, arrogance overtaking caution. Economically speaking, yes. My success keeps the system alive. The courts, the schools, the roads, every paycheck in this building owes a fraction to my enterprises. No one moves. Even the bailiff's hand freezes on his notepad. So because you pay taxes, Caprio asks, voice steady, you think you own this process? Damien exhales, tired of the dance. Judge, don't twist it. I own properties, industries, investments, and, indirectly, the mechanisms that rely on them. That's just reality. He pauses, realizing the room is hanging on his words. But ego drives him forward. I don't mean disrespect, Your Honor, he adds, tone hardening, but in every sense that matters, I own this city's lifeblood. I own the buildings we're standing in. I own people like you. A stunned silence devours the space. For 3 full seconds nothing moves. Then Caprio's gaze lifts, slow, deliberate, unblinking. The storm has arrived. For several seconds Judge Caprio says nothing. The room is frozen, no shuffle of papers, no whisper of movement. Even the hum of the ceiling fan sounds louder, like the world itself waiting for his reply. When he finally speaks, his voice is soft, deliberate, and steady enough to cut through stone. Mr. Langford, he begins, did I hear you correctly? You believe you own people like me? Damien straightens, attempting composure. Your Honor, it's a figure of speech, economic perspective. I didn't mean. Caprio raises a hand. Don't explain yet. Think carefully before you answer. Because what you just said strikes at the foundation of this room. He leans forward slightly, eyes locked on Damien. I've sat on this bench for more than 30 years. I've seen millionaires, students, veterans, mothers juggling 3 jobs. Some come in desperate, some come in proud. But never, in 3 decades, has anyone looked me in the eye and claimed ownership over another human being. The gallery breathes again, a collective exhale of disbelief. Damien swallows. Judge Caprio, I respect the court. I simply meant that. You meant, Caprio interrupts, his tone still calm but laced with thunder, that wealth grants superiority. That the ability to pay grants the right to command. That your bank balance is a permission slip for dignity. He pauses, letting the words hang. That's not economics, Mr. Langford. That's delusion. Damien's confident mask flickers. I didn't intend disrespect. You intended efficiency, Caprio replies. You wanted this hearing to bend around your schedule. You walked in expecting applause for your tax returns. You thought money could buy what must be earned, respect. The judge stands slowly, the creak of his chair loud in the silence. Let me remind you what this courtroom represents. It's the only place left in our society where every voice starts at the same volume. You can't purchase tone here. He gestures toward the gallery, students, retirees, workers. These people show up without assistants or chauffeurs. They stand where you stand now. They follow the process because process is the equalizer. And for that reason alone, I'll ensure this process continues, even if it costs you more than money. Damien's face pales. Your Honor. Caprio continues, unwavering. You said you own buildings, roads, and systems. Perhaps you do. But you don't own justice. You don't own integrity. You certainly don't own me. The words land like hammer blows. Caprio's tone softens just slightly, carrying something almost parental. When I was a boy, my father swept streets so our neighborhood would look decent. My mother cleaned houses so other families could live comfortably. They taught me that work gives dignity, not dollars. The lesson stuck. He looks directly at Damien. You've built towers, but you've forgotten the ground beneath them. You confuse power with purpose. The billionaire's lips part, but no sound follows. Mr. Langford, Caprio says, sitting again, you came here to settle a traffic fine. You will leave with something else. A reminder that the law is the one business that cannot be bought. You'll pay the price not for the red light, but for the arrogance that nearly blinded you. He glances toward the clerk. Under Rhode Island law, contempt of court allows discretionary penalty when conduct displays disregard for judicial authority. Today, your behavior fits that definition perfectly. Damien's jaw tightens. You're going to fine me for words? Caprio shakes his head. For contempt. For forgetting that respect is not a commodity. For treating this court as if it were an inconvenience. A quiet gasp rises from the benches. The judge looks around the room once more. This courtroom exists to remind us that character, not capital, defines worth. Remember that when you sign your next check, Mr. Langford. Damien lowers his gaze. His confidence, once blinding, has dimmed to silence. And for the first time all morning, Judge Caprio truly is speechless, not from shock but from the weight of what still must be done. Judge Caprio adjusts his robe, his expression steady but heavy with purpose. The courtroom waits in perfect silence, no one daring to shift or cough. Mr. Langford, he says finally, the statutory fine for running a red light is $85. But we're not dealing with a simple infraction anymore. We're dealing with contempt for the law, for this court, and for the very idea of equality. Damien blinks, his voice barely controlled. Your Honor, I've apologized. My words were poorly chosen. Surely that's worth some consideration. It is, Caprio answers evenly. It's worth exactly this, acknowledgement of your error. But apologies don't erase contempt, they only begin to address it. He turns toward the clerk. Under judicial discretion, I'm imposing an enhanced penalty, $5,000 total, $85 for the violation, and the remainder for your behavior. The sound of pens pausing on notepads fills the room. Damien's composure finally cracks. $5,000? For words? That's punitive, Judge. It's educational, Caprio replies. Consider it tuition for a course you should have taken long ago, humility. A few quiet chuckles ripple through the benches, quickly stifled. Caprio isn't finished. You told me your time is worth $12,000 an hour. Let's test that. In addition to your fine, you'll complete 50 hours of community service within the next 90 days. No delegating, no substitutes. You will personally serve those who can't afford a meal, a lawyer, or the luxury of arrogance. Damien's mouth opens, but the judge continues before he can protest. Report to Providence Community Kitchen. You'll work under the direction of their staff. You'll do whatever is needed, washing dishes, serving food, cleaning floors. The courtroom hums again, part shock, part admiration. Caprio leans forward. 50 hours of your time equals $600,000 by your own math. Consider it an investment in understanding. He lowers his gavel gently. Bang! That will be all. The judgment isn't just heard, it's felt. The empire builder has just been ordered to build something else: perspective. 3 weeks later, the sun rises over Providence with a chill that cuts through even the finest wool. Damien Langford pulls into a cracked parking lot behind a brick building with fading paint and a sign that reads Providence Community Kitchen. He sits in his car for a long moment, staring at his reflection in the glass. The same reflection that once stared down investors and mayors now looks uncertain. His tailored suit has been traded for jeans and a plain gray polo. The watch remains, but it feels heavier, almost inappropriate. Inside, the air smells of soup and detergent. A woman in her 60s, sleeves rolled, hair tied back, eyes sharp with experience, approaches him. "You're the one the judge sent, right? The real estate guy." "Yes, ma'am," Damien replies quietly. "Good," she says, handing him an apron. "Dishes are in the back. Let's see how you do with soap instead of signatures." The room is noisy, steam hissing, plates clattering, voices mixing with laughter and exhaustion. Damien works beside volunteers who move with practiced rhythm. The first hour feels endless. By the second, his manicured hands are wrinkled and sore. At the lunch rush, he pauses to hand a tray to a man with a tattered coat and kind eyes. The man grins. "You're that rich guy from the news, aren't you?" Damien winces. "I was. Now I'm the dish guy." The man chuckles. "Good. Everybody's the dish guy sometimes. Teaches you what clean really means." Later, on a smoke break, Damien sits outside with another volunteer, a quiet veteran named Thomas. "You know," Thomas says, "you can own property but not pride. You can buy buildings, not belonging." He flicks his cigarette, gaze steady. "Looks like you're figuring that out." By his 20th hour, Damien has stopped checking his watch. He learns names. He jokes with the staff. He starts arriving early. On his 50th and final shift, the kitchen manager, her name is Maria, wipes her hands on a towel and looks him over. "Didn't think you'd last more than a day," she says. "But you did. Maybe that judge knew something I didn't." Damien nods, smiling faintly. "He knew what I needed to see." When he leaves that evening, the same cracked parking lot feels different. Less empty, more real. A week later, Providence Community Kitchen receives a donation of $500,000. The note attached reads, "For food, for warmth, for dignity, from someone still learning respect." Maria doesn't need to guess who sent it. The following month, Judge Caprio sits at his bench reviewing case files when a letter arrives, thick paper, handwritten address. No return name, just an embossed gold L at the corner. Inside is a short note and a receipt for a $500,000 donation to Providence Community Kitchen. Caprio reads the note once, then again. It says only, "Thank you for reminding me that respect isn't earned in boardrooms or measured in profits. It's built in moments that cost nothing and mean everything." For a long while he doesn't speak. The clerk watching him swears he sees a hint of a smile before the judge tucks the letter into his robe pocket. That day, Caprio addresses the courtroom with his usual warmth but a new gravity. "Justice," he says, "isn't about punishment, it's about perspective. The law doesn't exist to break people. It exists to remind us that no one stands above it. Not the powerful, not the privileged, not even the proud. Every person who enters this room begins as an equal. What they leave with depends on the weight of their character." He looks across the room, the students, the workers, the single parents, and adds quietly, "When we lose respect, we lose the only wealth that matters." Somewhere across town, Damien Langford stands outside the kitchen, watching families carry out warm meals. For the first time in years he feels small, but in the best way possible. That's the moment real balance is restored. Damien Langford once believed success was measured by square footage and profit margins. But in Judge Caprio's courtroom, he learned that dignity holds a value no currency can match. A single sentence, "I own people like you," cost him more than $5,000, 50 hours of labor, and a lifetime of reputation. Yet what he gained was priceless: humility, clarity, and a renewed sense of humanity. Providence still remembers the billionaire who washed dishes beside strangers and left a note that said, "For food, for warmth, for dignity." Because in the end, money can build towers, but respect builds legacies. Subscribe to Real Judge Stories and comment below. Was justice served, or should the lesson have been even harsher? And remember, in Judge Caprio's courtroom, wealth stops at the door but truth always walks free.